The most dangerous bug in a RAG system is not hallucination. It is a confident answer that used to be true.
Yes, stale answers pass basic checks because they sound grounded, cite real sources, and still fail the actual user. That is why teams miss them.
So, this is not just bad ranking. It is temporal drift hiding behind decent retrieval.
Exactly. If your docs changed, your index lagged, your prompt ignored freshness, or your answer reused cached assumptions, the system can be internally consistent and still wrong.
Give me the visible symptoms. What should a programmer notice before users start losing trust?
4 big ones. The answer references old policies, old versions, or retired names. It says things like currently or latest without evidence. It conflicts with the product UI or changelog. And users ask the same question twice over time and get different eras of truth.
So, the user sees certainty, but the dates do not line up.
Right. Picture a support bot saying password resets take 24 hours because that was true last year. The docs now say instant self-service. The answer sounds polished, but it quietly routes customers into dead process.
And that is not a cosmetic bug. That changes costs, escalations, maybe even compliance.
It does. Staleness is strategic. The team that detects it early looks reliable. The team that misses it teaches users to bypass the bot.
All right, where do you inspect first? Retrieval, context, prompt, answer. What fields matter?
Start with retrieval fields because they tell you whether fresh evidence was even available. Check document IDs, source paths, chunk text, chunk timestamps, publication dates, last updated dates, index build time, retrieval scores, and rank positions.
That is already enough to separate two ugly cases. Fresh docs missing versus fresh docs present but ignored.
Yes, if the top results are all old, it is likely indexing lag, bad metadata filters, or ranking that underweights recency. If fresh chunks are retrieved but the answer still sounds old, move downstream.
Give me a concrete example of that split.
Say a user asks, what is the API rate limit for the free tier? Retrieval returns a 6-month-old pricing page at rank 1 and a 2-day-old limits page at rank 6. If the answer says 100 requests per hour, stale retrieval probably won. If the new limits page was rank 2 with clear numbers and the answer still used the old one, the problem is context use or prompting.
So, after retrieval, you inspect the context that the model actually saw.
Exactly. Look at context assembly fields. Which chunks were selected, their order, truncation boundaries, token counts, separators, duplicate chunks, and whether metadata like date or version survived into the prompt. A fresh document that gets cut off before the key sentence is effectively absent.
Order matters too, right? Old chunk first, new chunk buried later, and the model anchors on the first story.
Very often. Imagine release notes where version 3 changed a default setting. If context starts with older setup docs and only later includes the release note, the model may summarize the older default, unless you make recency and conflict resolution explicit.
Now the prompt. This is where teams get sloppy, because the answer can still look competent.
Prompt inspection is about instructions and available signals. Check whether the system prompt tells the model to prefer newer sources, mention dates, resolve conflicts, and admit uncertainty when evidence disagrees. Also inspect any hidden tool instructions, query rewrites, and cached conversation summaries that may drag old assumptions forward.
Cached conversation summaries are nasty. They make the model loyal to yesterday.
Exactly. A practical case. Yesterday, the bot told a user that Enterprise SSO requires a premium plan. Today, pricing changed. Retrieval finds the new policy, but the conversation summary says SSO is premium only, and the model keeps defending that old fact. Retrieval was fine.
Last layer, the answer itself. What fields do you inspect there?
Look at cited source IDs, quoted spans, whether the answer mentions dates or versions, whether it states confidence without evidence, and whether it mixes old and new facts in one response. I also compare answer claims line by line against the supporting chunks. If a claim has no supporting span, it is a generation problem, not just retrieval.
So how do you separate likely causes fast without a week of instrumentation theater?
Use a simple decision tree. First ask, was the newest relevant source retrieved? If no, debug indexing, metadata, filters, and ranking. If yes, ask, did the newest source make it into final context intact and early enough? If no, debug context assembly. If yes, ask, did the prompt tell the model how to handle recency and conflicts? If no, fix prompt policy. If yes, inspect answer grounding and conversation memory.
That turns stale answers from a vague complaint into a forensic workflow.
And that matters because stale systems fail in a specific way. They look trustworthy, right up to the moment they cause real damage. If you log the right fields and test with time-sensitive questions, you stop guessing.
So, the winning move is not making answers sound smarter. It is making freshness visible, traceable, and debuggable.
Exactly. In RAG, truth is not just what the model can say. It is whether the system can prove it is speaking from the right moment in time.